welcome back to another episode of
WHOSAY!
I am your host for today, Jeevan. I'm a Year 3 law student, and our co-host is...
I'm Stacy. I'm a Year 1 finance major. And joining us today are two guests.
I'm Akshita. I'm a Year 2 mechanical engineering student.
I'm Wei Kian. I'm Year 3 business analytics student.
All right, Wei Kian, as I understand it, you guys are peer connectors, right?
Yep.
So what does a peer connector do?
Peer Connector is for a program for international students for their orientation. So we lead them for going around Singapore, like near campus, so like Clementi, Jurong, or something else. And we also will have a friendship making session so they can make friends during the orientation.
All right.
Yeah, so the things that Wei Kian just mentioned are like our orientation program for international students that kind of makes up for the FOPs that they might have missed over the summer. We also have a pre-arrival connection program where we kind of help them ease into like what they might need for living in Singapore, like SIM cards or even just where to eat at NUS.
You just talked about helping international students integrate, and that actually reminds me of my time as an international student. So I'm actually born and raised Singaporean, and I've been through the public education system here in Singapore up till the point that I went to university. And I'm a law student, so we have specific universities worldwide that we can go to if we want to qualify to practice law rather, here in Singapore. So because of that, I actually applied overseas and to NUS as well. And I actually got the offer for the overseas university first in the UK, which is why I ended up there. And when I was there, actually, then I got the offer for NUS, and eventually I made the jump back. But while I was there, it was that just post-COVID period where we were just integrating into the non-mask wearing era, somewhat back to normal life, and we were coming off of online studies, and that integration, going overseas into a brand new place, it was extremely jarring for me. And on top of that, going somewhere where I had no support system, it just, whatever you just mentioned just came flooding back to me, because that support system, when I had to go there, I had to look for it. And that helped me so much, whether it was friends or the university's own support network. We had tutors who were assigned to us to check in with us every now and then. So these sorts of small elements here and there, it helped me out as an international student. But that makes me curious, actually. So that's why I ended up being an international student, because the qualification required it. What brought you guys to Singapore, actually?
For me, I'm come from Malaysia, so I also get a lot of some of the offer from UK university and NUS.
All right.
The reason I choose NUS is because we also know that Singapore have the top educational system in the worldwide. So yeah, and my families also say that why you don't just try NUS. Yeah, so that's where I come from. Yeah, and also I also agree that the supporting network is quite important for me when I come to Singapore, because I feel that I feel lonely when I come to Singapore. But yeah, after a few SEM, I get joined into some activities and like the peer connector system or something. So yeah, I made a lot of friends during these sessions. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
As for me, I'm also born in Singapore. I am a Singaporean, but I've lived most of my life as an international student in a few different countries. However, I decided to move back to Singapore for uni because having already had the experience of living abroad, and part of that was living away from my family as well, actually just before I came to Singapore, I wanted the familiarity and I guess the comfort of knowing where I am and knowing the culture that I'm living in. When I was living away from my family, it was a bit difficult because I was also living in the UK actually. And the culture was completely different than what I'd grown up with. And I didn't have the support system of my family who kind of brought in my own culture, I guess. So for me, it was the decision to move back was just the desire to have that kind of familiarity again, because my rationale was that uni is already a big jump from high school. You struggle with balancing your academic life and your social life, and I thought, why not make my life easier and remove the element of having to navigate an unfamiliar country as well. What about you?
For me, I was born and raised in the Philippines. Then I moved to Singapore alone when I was 14. So I moved for secondary school because I got like an MOE scholarship at that time. And then I decided to move at that age because one, because of the good education that you guys were mentioning, and two, it was because I always had a dream of studying overseas. So I decided, the opportunity is here, so might as well just get it started. And then when I first came, I was um, immediately stuck in COVID. So I ended up staying in Singapore for 2 years without seeing my family. And I do agree that friends were a really good support system because I made really, really nice, friendly local friends. And they introduced me to their families, and I know their grandparents, and I attend some family affairs every now and then. Yeah.
Wait, Stacy, did you just say you moved at 14 alone?
Yes.
That's crazy. That is wild. Because when I moved, I went for uni, so I was way older than 14. But even then, it was extremely jarring for me, and just going into a brand new place without friends, no support network, seeing a completely different structure, that actually was really difficult to navigate at first. Being all alone in a brand new place, and I actually had to take it upon myself to find my support networks. And I did that initially by putting myself in places where people would have common interests with me. When I was in the university in the UK, I did this first, apart from, of course, your classes, by joining a Hindu society. And so it is connection through religion, but I found a bunch of folks in a social setting with whom I could connect on some level, on something other than academics. And I had this in mind as a game plan when I was going there. So I had this game plan because I knew I wouldn't have the support network, right? But I don't think I would have thought of that at 14. So it's and actually, come to think of it, the kind of experience I've had, going into a different place, that's something all international students would experience. So, what about those who are coming to Singapore? Because going outside, that's something we're familiar with. It's a very Asian mentality that we're going out in. It's Western mentality, Western culture that we're getting exposed to. But what about those coming here to an Asian setting? What about, what's it like seeing Singapore? Is there still a culture shock?
Yeah, for me, even though I'm from Malaysia, also from the Johor, which is the neighbor of Singapore, I also like suffering from the culture shock from my first sem. So the culture shock is the Singlish. Yeah, yeah. So even though Malaysian also have the English, yeah, it's quite similar. We also have like something like sia or something. Yeah, quite similar to Singapore.
You guys say la?
Yeah, we say
Singapore
la.
is famous for saying
We
la.
also say la, yeah. But yeah, in Singapore we also use a lot like short form things when we texting or something, right? So it's quite hard for me to like read out, what is a short form of from this? Yeah.
Okay. That's something that never occurred to me actually. The short forms that we use.
Yeah, a few of my friends have said, like a few of my international student friends have said that SFLR, sorry for the late reply, is something they only learned when they came to Singapore, which I wasn't aware of because I've been using that so much here.
I never knew that's a Singaporean thing.
Is it? I actually don't know, but that's what some of my friends have said.
I mean, I use it back home too, but I think there are more short forms that are being used over text in Singapore. And there's a lot of like abbreviations and things that I think Singaporeans are fond of doing. Yeah, which isn't that common. So I ended up getting used to like deciphering these things. So now it just comes a bit more naturally.
Yeah. So being in a social environment, actually, the groups, the people that we're with, that helps us a lot in integrating, I realize. So the friend network that we build, it's important. And for me, when I was an international student, I built it by putting myself in a setting where I would meet people that I probably would have connected with on some level. So, outside of the classroom as well, I had a game plan for it. So, what about you guys when y'all come to Singapore? What did y'all have a game plan for how you guys made friends, or how did it happen?
I think for me, it wasn't necessarily like a very strict game plan. Like you had you had ideas of which society you wanted to join and things like that, or
Yeah,
something
I
like
was a
that?
bit
Yeah.
bombastic with it. I fully went and like looked at all the list of societies. I was like, yeah, this is the one. This is the one. I joined a few.
No, for me, I am very introverted by nature actually. And then right before I came to Singapore, I was hanging out with more extroverted friends back home. And so they kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone a bit. So it prepared me. Like, so when I came into Singapore, I decided that I have to embody that personality because I have to make friends. So it wasn't necessarily like a plan of how to make friends, but more of I better reach out to people because they're not going to be reaching out to me because I'm the new one here. So I intentionally just started talking to people and started to, even though I was entering a new school in the middle, because I entered in Sec 3, so everyone knew each other from Sec 1 and 2. I decided that, no, it's okay, I'm gonna join student council, I'm going to participate in these activities, I'm gonna put myself out there and make people know me even though I don't know them yet. And I guess that helped me a lot because compared to my other international student friends who befriended several international student friends, like kept to that circle, I decided to branch out to the locals, and my friends are more Singaporeans compared to international students. Yeah.
I think for me, I did have somewhat of a concrete game plan. So I have an older cousin who went to uni like a few years before me, and her one piece of advice she gave me was join a sports team when you start at uni. So I remember me in year one just like wandering around SLF, super duper lost, and then I find myself in like the sports halls looking at the booths for the different teams. And I remember looking at the one for NUS canoeing, and they were like, yeah, we're super beginner friendly. And I was like, okay, you know what, sure, I like water sports. Let me give this a go. So I go for their orientation, and it's tragic. I'm capsizing left and right, and this is on the training boat. So I almost didn't go back again, but then my dad was like, just give it a try. What's the harm? It's like there's no harm in trying. So I was like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? And then like after the second and third time, it was really fun because I wasn't the only beginner. And I think that's part of what made it so helpful to me in settling in and finding some people I can be friends with and find people I can spend a lot of time with, because everyone else was also capsizing. I think the first time maybe I was too caught up in my own struggles to realize that everyone else was having the same. So like, I don't know, the second and third time when I actually started talking to the other people coming down for the orientation, and like we all talked about how we were struggling to like maybe paddle with the right technique or like sit in the boat without actually falling over. It was something we could all relate to, and I guess there's that vulnerability in not being able to do something very well. And I guess that's something we bonded over, and that was really so helpful to me at the beginning because it gave me a crowd of people to navigate that unfamiliarity with.
Yeah, actually, when you struggle together, you bond a lot better, right? I realize that. So it's what do they call it? Like trauma bonding or something like that. And I think that's the magic of like being in a place like Singapore, because when we bond across, we bond across different people. The people who are here are so diverse that you've got people from all walks of life, all sorts of backgrounds, the different races of folk. We've got the four major races, and then also the different diaspora that is still coming into Singapore. So, and we bond across all of these different um, challenges that we face, because that is something that's common to all of us, be it studies or even club societies, activities, sports as well, like you did. So, and I think that's one of the magical moments actually of being a university student, because when we're struggling together and making friends with different people, we open up so much more of our mindset and our as we learn by interacting with them. And also it helps us integrate a lot more because it brings down a lot of the barriers that we have. It's one of the best icebreakers actually, to bond over something that's common between all of us. So that's actually one of the benefits, I think, of just putting yourself out there in a perhaps like a CC or a club, and actually even taking ownership of your own integration into university life. And also, one of the reasons I realize that people choose to come to Singapore is because a lot of them actually do have familial ties in Singapore. They've got like a distant cousin or an aunt or an uncle who lives here, which I was actually pretty surprised by. So a lot of folk have actually been coming to Singapore, and then slowly their own connections also make that journey here. So that's something I haven't been able to relate to because my entire family's been here the entire time. But that's something I've realized that students who come here actually, that's something that actually draws students to Singapore.
Yeah, I could actually relate about the family ties thing because even though I don't have direct family members in Singapore, I have a lot of family friends who grew up with my parents back home and then they ended up migrating to Singapore. So when I first came, they were the ones who brought me around, introduced me to more people my age, and helped me get into clubs outside of school. And that's how I kind of built my own community separate from my school in Singapore also.
Yeah, I think that really helps having those ties into Singapore. And also, it's a lot about the familiarity of being in Singapore, right? Like you've got people who are here who you know who can help you integrate, and who actually you can even turn to when you get a little bit of trouble or you need some support. But also apart from that, the culture I realize is also something that is a draw. We've got that unique blend of Eastern and Western culture. It's a metropolis, but it's still very there's still a lot of culture integrated into it. You'll find the craziest, most modern building, and beside that, the most traditional temple in the city. It's and I think that's one of the major unique aspects about Singapore, how we've integrated modern development and still held on to traditional values, and we've got that unique flux of it going on that I think brings people here. So one of those major points is food. When I was in the UK, food was awful, and that actually made me realize that I love cooking so much because I get to choose how my food tastes, and well, of course, I make it taste good, right? I think I'm a good chef. But yeah, so people coming to Singapore as well, they get to enjoy the local cuisine, which a lot of people say that Singapore is not got the best food in the world, but I think it does. I think
Yeah, I think it
Singapore's food
does.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we just had breakfast before coming, so I'm quite a big fan of kaya toast and eggs.
Ah,
I think
that
that
you-
just really hits the spot before class, I think.
Yeah. I think a more Singaporean food that I like is like satay. I really enjoy satay. And like it's a bit like a tourist trap, but I like going to La Pasad with like my friends sometimes. But speaking about food, I really like Singapore's cafe culture because I'm a really big coffee person. Like I prefer like specialty coffee and these unique types of coffee and I really like doing cafe hopping in Singapore.
And actually, on the point of food, I think that's one of the magical points about Singapore because we're a melting pot of so many cultures, and being able to connect with your own cuisine, I think, is one of the best ways you can still feel at home a little bit, even though you're away from home. That's what I did actually, and because when I was in the UK, English breakfast was just not it. So I had to have some Indian fare, or at least some Singaporean fare. Like I missed mee goreng so much. And I was actually really really happy because my local supermarket actually opened up in an Asian aisle, and we had a Singapore food section, and they had Yo's sauces up on the racks, like all the way from Singapore, and I was like, that I am blessed right now. And I think yeah, so even like students who come here, they're enjoying the local fare. But Wei Kian,
Yeah.
you're not from that far away, right?
Yeah. So I think Johor food is better sometimes.
Whoa,
Yeah, like
whoa, you're gonna
ikan
stir that
bakar.
debate.
Okay, but honestly, the chicken rice in Singapore is quite nice. Yeah, also with the chili crab, like some like special cuisine in Singapore, I think quite nice also. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Singapore. It's an island nation, so chili crab, of course. Our seafood is pretty big here as well.
Were there any aspects of like your food that you used to enjoy from home that like you were able to find in Singapore, or were there like a lot of differences? So I haven't really eaten in JB.
Oh, I think mostly the cuisine are the same. So it's like just the taste is quite something are different. So it's like let's say Hokkien mee. Hokkien in JB is like the black one, but in Singapore it's the white version. So it's quite different. Yeah.
I actually wasn't really familiar with Singaporean cuisine until I came here for uni because, again, I left here when I was 4, so I have no memories of Singapore when I was young. And I've mostly lived abroad again. So I guess I was always used to like eating anything, and especially when I also went to UK, I also struggled with the food a bit. And I mean, I just found it quite bland in comparison to like
It so
the
is.
Indian spices and like in general that I was used to. So I guess I just kind of developed a palate that can digest anything. So I guess that was good for me in the sense that I was very adventurous when I came back to Singapore, and I just ate whatever I could get my hands on, I guess. So yeah, I definitely really enjoy Singaporean food.
I think for me, I traveled frequently to Singapore growing up before I came to study. So I tried all the classic, more Singaporean food as a tourist before. So when I came for studies, I had my preferences on which local food I like and which ones I could live without. And then I just decided to just explore whatever I could find. So in Singapore, I explore food from different countries and different cultures because everyone who migrate here ends up, not everyone, but a lot of people who migrate here start making their own businesses, and they cook quite authentically, I'd say. Or based on reviews, they cook quite authentically. So I get to experience these kinds of different cultures even while just staying within Singapore. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So you took it upon yourself to like go out and explore all the different food choices that you had, is it?
I think that a lot of my friends are quite adventurous and they like to go to places that are interesting to them. We like to explore new things instead of going to the same places again and again. So
Oh, that's
every now
nice.
and then I get to experience a new cuisine or try a new restaurant.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of being in Singapore actually, because being a foodie here actually works because there's always new options you can try, always new places you can go to here and there, which I wasn't able to do when I was, an international student. So that actually forced me to have to be independent and cook and learn how to cook. So, and I think that's actually another hidden benefit of being an international student because when you don't have the usual resources that you're used to, like when I'm in Singapore, hawker food, it's so convenient actually. I actually took it for granted, how easy it was to access food that's not only good but affordable. And when I realized just how much I would have to travel to get food when I was in the UK, and also how much I would have to pay for it, and my parents put me on a tight budget, so I could not like spend too much. So I had to learn how to be thrifty, and one of the ways is learning to cook on your own. So the benefit of that was I actually discovered that I enjoy cooking, and you also get like to choose like how you want your food to taste. It's a hidden like benefit of cooking because like on your own, because when you choose like just how flavorful you want this dish to be, how creamy you want it to be, and you make it just right, and then you get to enjoy it on your own afterwards. That is yeah. So I think being an international student, the benefits of it being in that you learn how to be independent. It's multifold because when I was there as well, I didn't have orientation when I was there. I arrived in semester 2, and although they had promised me there would be a second orientation, that didn't happen. So I was actually left on my own. I didn't know where to get my student card, where to go for classes. I wanted to print my notes out before going to class, and where would I go for that? So I had to be resourceful on my own. And I guess in some ways, being thrown into the deep end of things, that actually helped me a lot because I had to figure out, okay, let's say I want to print notes. Where is a logical place that one would go to print notes?
I'd probably go to a print shop, and I know around NUS there are quite a few printers just scattered around.
Yeah, so there are a few and stuff like that, but a fresh student wouldn't know, right? Day one of class. So my logical conclusion was the library. And then I was like, okay, so I gotta find my way to the library. How do I go in? And I was actually really lucky in that when I arrived at the library, there was this girl who was there who saw that I looked really lost and helped me out. And she and I are actually really good friends right now. And it all came off of this one occasion where she helped me. She even showed me like where the printers are in the library, how to use them, how to uh, pay for your print jobs, that sort of thing. So you make friends anywhere. You just got to throw yourself out there. And but I think the bigger lesson is when you take it upon yourself to go out there and learn things, it is exponentially beneficial. And being an international student is the best way to force yourself to learn how to be independent, because literally you're abandoning your support networks back home, going into a brand new country, and integrate, making yourself integrate there. So I like that aspect actually about being an international student. It taught me a lot about myself, taught me to be self-reliant a lot more than I would have had I been studying in Singapore. And having come back to Singapore from that international student life and being a local in the last like couple of years, I've actually lost some of that reliance just staying at home with my family.
Yeah. I also like losing like self-independence. So it's like after become studying in Singapore, so it's like become more independent because you need to find like how you're going to other places. Like you need to find like, how the MRT goings, and like the internal bus or something. And the bus is like the transportation, like the map is like quite a lot of like the routes, right? So you need to search out which part has the fastest route. Yeah, and you need to find foods and going to like bankings and like buy like daily groceries or something. Yeah, so you need to find all the way like by yourself. Yeah, and you need to wash the clothes, everything you need to do by yourself. Yeah, because at home, yeah, my parents do for me.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah, my mom's doing mine. Right?
Yeah, so yeah, trying to be independence when you become a international student will be good for you and for your life. Yeah.
I think that being an international student in Singapore makes it slightly easier because of the convenience in Singapore. So, for example, the public transport system. Growing up, I've gone everywhere using a car, like very thankfully. But it's also because the public transport system in the Philippines is very, very bad. So it's very inconvenient, and I think that it's the norm to have a car because that's what's more convenient and more common for people. So I think that because the public transport system is very convenient in Singapore, even though I was alone without the car, I was able to find my way and very easily navigate where I needed to go because everything becomes more accessible to me. And I think because of that, I was also able to discover that I like going on adventures and I like discovering new places. And also, while just sitting on the bus, I get to see new things. And I'm like, okay, I see that. That's interesting. I want to go. And I think that these things make transitioning into Singapore more easy compared to maybe another country.
I definitely relate to the part that you said. Being in Singapore makes it a bit easier to kind of get used to this independence, because one thing that I really appreciate about Singapore is that it's quite safe. And because everything is so organized and efficient, if you mess up, like if you maybe skip a bus stop, like if you don't get off at the stop you're supposed to because you're not used to like pressing the bell or something, then like it's not the end of the world, because each bus stop is like usually less than 500 meters away from the last one. So it's not a huge thing to like walk back or cross the road to the bus that goes in the opposite direction and grab that, sorry. So like I know when I came back to Singapore, I messed up a lot. Like I got lost all the time. I missed my bus stop, like everywhere. I took the wrong bus in the wrong direction. Like it was a navigational mess. But yeah, it's also okay because like you said, that gave me the chance to like see new places as well. And I guess, yeah, just have the desire to maybe not get lost, but just like go out on my own a bit more. Yeah, so I actually really enjoyed that part when I came back to Singapore. Just using Google Maps, because Google Maps is also, it actually worked quite well in Singapore actually, like the routes, because I use the bus routes and I use the MRT routes. So just having that access to that information makes it very easy for you to plan things on your own and go out on your own without having to worry about other factors, I guess.
Yeah, I think generally access to information here is quite good. Because you mentioned, having to sort out your banking matters,
Yeah.
amongst other things, in your integration. And I think one of the benefits of Singapore and even NUS is that everything's available online. There are manuals for every single step of the way. Like I've had issues with like my computer as well, and then NUS IT's website has all the information I need to like fix it. So I think in access to information here is really good. Being I guess it's the internet generation. We're on top of things here. Um, yeah. So generally, moving around as well. We've got transport maps, and these days the transport apps can tell you what's the best connection to take as well, where exactly you connect, how much of a walking distance you have between your routes. So the yeah apps, your phones, your smartphones is just getting way too smart now, I think.
Yeah. On top of like access to information, I think another benefit of studying in Singapore or moving to Singapore is that everything happens fast. So whenever you need help, and if you email someone or call someone, you get a response really quickly, and you're able to solve problems really fast. So I think that making mistakes or trying something new is more forgivable and more it's it's easier to do it in Singapore basically compared to somewhere else where the systems may be slower and less forgiving when you make an error. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree to it because in Malaysia we usually like quite the living style is quite slow. So in Singapore we like more faster than Malaysia. So everything is quite fast. So you can like forget everything. So you just like focusing on the current state of the everything's right. So I think this is a good point because I also this make me to like trying everything like new things in Singapore. Yeah, so this make my MBTI from INFJ to ENFJ. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. So it's like become more extrovert to like trying everything, like activities, like making more friends, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. So I actually relate really strongly to what you said. When I was in UK, I was quite closed off, I think. I didn't really try new things. I very much just kept to like that dormitory circle, maybe going out to the town center a bit for groceries every now and then, but not much else. But then after coming here and like opening up a bit more, I guess, I also noticed that there are just a lot of really beginner-friendly opportunities in Singapore. So like, yeah, I mean, I started kayaking, and so like in Singapore, you can do like your 1-star, your 2-star for kayak certification, and it's super beginner friendly. And a lot of my friends have gotten into rock climbing here as well because there are walls everywhere. And yeah, there's actually so much. Like we were talking about food. I think the food is also just a really good way to settle in. But yeah, I mean, I was really appreciative of how beginner friendly a lot of the activities here, and that is how you kind of make new friends and get to know people. And NUS is also a very nice bridge to that because a lot of the co-curricular activities here like give you like open that door for you to like try out these new things. So that's also how I made a lot of my friends here.
Yeah, I noticed the sports teams tend to have a varsity team. You can join as a complete newbie in semester 1 and just work your way up the ranks, and in the end even perhaps join the varsity team if you, I guess, show that you're good enough. Thematically, that's actually a really good way to address or talk about the international student journey, because it starts with adjusting and then it moves into thriving. Because your first step, of course, is coming in with as a blank slate. You don't know what's what, and then you find a little bit of a segue in. So in your case, it was canoe, right? And capsizing and stuff, and then you bond over that. So that's just the adjustment phase. But then as things go on, as you get better with it, with the practice, the weekly practices, could even qualify for varsity in the end, and that's thriving. So and I think that sort of journey relates to an international student. on all fronts, be it their social life, their academic life, even personal, adjusting here. It's very uncomfortable as a person as well, to come to a new place and uh, s- spend those lonely nights, the first few lonely nights, and then start, building your friend base and things like that. So generally, thematically, I think it's a very adjust and then thrive kind of journey for all international students. And I believe as well, actually, NUS does offer the perfect platform for international students to thrive. And I think you guys as peer connectors, you can tell us a lot more about that, right?
Okay, so for us, right, peer connector, I already mentioned the orientation, right? So the orientation is for the student, international student. So this is the first opportunity for international student to join into the community in NUS. Yeah, so afterward, we have like a student life fair. So it's having like the
So CCA showcase.
CCA showcase or
It's a
something, right? A lot
it's
of CCAs, yeah. So this is also the first opportunity for you to like knowing what are the CCAs in the NUS, and you can like trying to join them if you are interested in these like activities.
yeah, and this is where Akshita mentioned she found NUS
Yes,
Canoe, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, beyond the student life fair, we also have a lot of other resources like 24-hour helplines. And I know, at least in mechanical engineering, we also have faculty advisors that students can ask for help with regards to academics or like course structure as well, which is quite helpful.
Yeah, also apart from this, also have the NUSU with have a program with like
Well,
international
hold on. What's
with
NUSU?
NUS Student Union.
Student Union,
Student
right?
Union, yeah.
Okay.
So every university have this. So for NUS, we have like they have collaborated with like some office. So it's like having a international student buddy program. So you can make friends with like us, like peer connectors or something in
Even
the
just
program.
regular students.
Yeah, regular students also have. Yeah, so this is also another opportunity for them. Yeah, to like make new friends.
So I guess as an international student, you can kind of preempt yourself as well. When you're applying and when you're preparing to come to NUS, you can look out for the typical roadmap into integrating into NUS, which is apart from classes, going for your student orientation. I think that's something that everyone says is really important for integration, because that's the first stepping stone where you meet your peers, you get exposed to being in a university environment. You learn, you get exposed as well to your seniors, you get connected with them, and then you get the initial lessons from them. How do you prepare for university? Because it is quite a jump from, say, high school, right? It's an extremely independent learning environment. You have to be extremely self-directed as well. So connecting with your seniors is actually a really good uh, way to learn how to integrate into university life as well. And then once you've got all that, when you're in university, when you're in university, you also have all of these support networks that are provided by the university. You've got the peer connective framework. You've also got the student union, and all of these programs are created to they're created to help the general student body, but also there are specific curated programs, like you guys mentioned, for the international students as well. So the university does also have its own support network for international students. So there are a couple of fronts on which I think international students can prepare themselves. And I think that actually makes it a lot less daunting, because going to a brand new place, it's a scary experience. It's literally throwing yourself into the deep end of things. But then when you realize that there are all of these factors that soften the blow of it, it makes it a lot less daunting. But it's still a very exciting experience, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that because of these support systems and these programs that are meant to help these international students, it makes the experience easier for them, and it makes them be less fearful and instead more excited and more ready to take on this new journey that they're about to embark on.
And that's a great note to bring this episode to a close on. And while we're doing that, I'd also like to thank both of our guests who are here on our podcast today.
Yes, thank you for your invitations. Hope you all can learn something from this episode. Yeah.
Thanks for having us. This was really fun to be on.
we had fun too.
And for our listeners, we hope that you liked this episode. Please follow us on all of our socials and do come back for more future episodes. Thank you.
Bye.